Whoa, that was a good one. Today, I am so excited to be unboxing the EUTOUR E030, a truly innovative wristwatch that uses magnets. You heard that right, magnets in its movement to control ball bearings as the minute and hour hands. As well as unboxing this watch, I'll also be wearing it for 7 days straight to gather my thoughts for a review, which I'll be presenting all in this one video, so stick around. Today's video has been sponsored by EUTOUR, and I am so grateful to have this watch in my hands today because, believe it or not, the first one that they sent got lost in the mail, so I'm so pleased that they were able to send me a replacement. Now, just before we crack into this, look at how shiny that logo is. Ever since I can remember, I've always fancied shiny things. So, let's crack into it. And here we go. So this is the watch itself. Now look at that. You can already see one of the little ball bearings rotating around in there. So taking a closer look at what is included, we can see this little tag just here to indicate that this is a choice movement. I believe it is a Swiss quartz movement inside. And look at this. They've even included a pin removal and adjustment tool for the included steel strap. So let's take this out. Very cool. We'll be making use of this later. We've also got what appears to be a little brush of some description. Cool. And the watch itself. Wow, just look at how cool that thing is. And we do also have a little cleaning cloth branded with EUTOUR. Very cool. So let's take a closer look at the watch itself. And of course, my favorite part, let's peel off this little protective shield. Also, they've got a lock under the crown there. Okay, let's pop that out. Nicely protected the strap here. It appears to be one of the butterfly style clasps. Just like that, you can deploy it by pressing these two buttons in. Oh yes, there we go. All right, now obviously I haven't set this watch yet, but look at how these little ball bearings are able to freely rotate around the dial. And see how it's just kind of locked itself into place there with the magnets? Okay, let's see if we can get the inner one to lock somewhere. Huh, interesting. Now from what I understand, as you can see, these little ball bearings are supposed to be free moving until you want to tell the time, at which point you can hold it still and it should settle into the correct position. So let's take a closer look at these straps here. Brilliant. Now take a look at these straps. We have what appears to be a brushed finish on the middle links and then this nice polished glossy finish on the outside. We also have the EUTOUR brand logo just here on the butterfly clasp. Very cool. Let's test it on for a wrist check. At the moment, I'm currently wearing my Casio A700W, which I've done a review on here if you'd like to check it out. So there you have it, folks. That's what it looks like on my 6.5 inch or 16.5 centimeter wrist. So why don't we set the time and then we'll adjust these straps. So according to the instructions, setting the time is easy. We simply pop the crown out slightly, okay, and then make adjustments like so. And I will be using my A700W for reference. Now let's try and adjust this. So I must admit, I am struggling to get this to settle. Okay, interesting. I might have to come back to this. It is kind of struggling to get lined up there. So now let's have a go at sizing up this strap. Okay, so to do so, we're going to put it on as usual and then make an estimation onto how many links we think we might need to remove. So honestly, I reckon I'm maybe going to try removing 3 links from each side. Okay, so we're going to use the provided pin removal tool just here and make an attempt. So we unscrew the little tool. Going to line up our pins and screw it in to push it out. Too easy. And as you can see, it's just sort of pushed it out that way. So now I'm guessing we might just be able to remove that by hand. Bingo. And what did I say? 3 links we'll take out. Now one thing I'm noticing, guys, is that I kind of got lucky with the first removals, but see how the split pins, you can see the end of those split pins here. you should press them out from the opposite side of the split pins where it's already sort of a little bit concave there, so nice and easy for the pin tool to go through. All right, let's see how we feel about this. And that is a wonderful fit. I am really happy with that, guys. Look at how glorious this thing looks on the wrist. It's really unique and intriguing having this. Like, I guarantee people are going to be looking at this going, what on earth? How does this man tell the time? However, I actually have a beach volleyball game tonight, and I learned the hard way that you do not want to wear a metal bracelet to beach volleyball. So I am going to install these lovely silicone straps, which EUTOUR did include for me. And thankfully, they are the kind that you can use your fingernail to install. So I'm really happy with that. I can already tell these are going to be nice and comfy just based on how soft and supple they are. Pull down on that. Boom, there you go. Easy peasy. Look at that. Beautiful. Let's bang this one on for a wrist check as well. Very comfy. Again, we do have the EUTOUR brand on the silicone strap as well. And there it is. What do you think of the EUTOUR E030? In terms of specifications of this watch, we have a copper alloy making up the housing of this watch. We also have the precise quartz movement that we touched on earlier. And then we have an internal battery that is supposed to last 4 years, which will be incredible. Whoa, how cool is this crazy watch, Bubble? Bubble is suggesting that you ram that like button because momentarily I will be returning in 7 days after wearing this watch non-stop to come back to you for a review. I wonder how it's going to hold up at volleyball tonight. What do you reckon, Bubble? Hey guys, checking back in with another quick update. So as you know, when we were doing the unboxing, the little inner ball was unable to catch onto the magnet. I've reached out to EUTOUR. It turns out that the little internal magnet on the inner hand must have become dislodged during postage. So it's probably been handled poorly, and that's why the little inner ball is not working. So now they've sent me a replacement one. Thank you so much, EUTOUR. I'm very grateful for that. So let's open it up, and hopefully this one has survived. So here it is, our beautiful replacement head here. Let's open it up and make sure these magnets are connecting. Well, that's a good sign. Both magnets appear to be locked into place. Let's give them a little push. Oh yeah. Bingo, look at that. They're right on the 12 there. So let's just set this to confirm. The time is 10:26. So remember, the outside ball is actually the hour. So we're going to go to 10 and set this little internal minute hand to 26, which should be just after that little dot there. We lock it in and we're good to go. But let's get back into the review. All right, it has been 7 days wearing the EUTOUR E030, so let's get started with what I liked about this watch. First of all, this is just such an incredibly unique and cool idea for a watch, and it was an absolute pleasure to wear just for the novelty factor of it. My favourite move with this watch is giving the little wrist spin, as you can see, and then it locks into place. Actually, I wonder if I can get this up to 5,000 RPM. Whoop. Whoa, that was a good one. I got a lot of comments and compliments for wearing this watch over the last 1 week, and people's most common thing to say when they saw it was, whoa! The watch is rated for 30 meters of water resistance, so I did wear it out in the rain and also when I washed my hands. However, I did in fact take it off when I had showers. I really appreciated that it came with this little brush, which came in quite handy after my beach volleyball games. It was very good at cleaning the little rail system here and any dirt and debris that gets stuck. I did have a few grains of sand get in here, but most of the time on the court, I simply blew into it and they were gone. I also really appreciated these silicone straps, which were among the comfiest that I have ever worn. But we will get into the strap debate coming up shortly. And speaking of the straps, as you can see, the notches extend for a very long distance down the strap, meaning this will be capable of fitting a wide variety of wrist sizes. I really appreciate the quality of the recessed hour and minute markers around the dial. It's all super clean and looks really, really nice. This gunmetal grey colour of the dial looks really cool as well, though there's also a wooden and silver option available. And one of my biggest praises of the EUTOUR is not just for the watch itself, but for their brand and the way they handled customer service. As you saw earlier, I did have an issue with the first watch I received that was damaged in postage. However, the EUTOUR support staff were extremely helpful in ensuring I had a new one in my hands as soon as possible. So a massive thank you for that. The E30 comes with a 1-year warranty, so you can rest assured that this watch will be working for you during that period, and more holistically I would say that the novelty factor of this watch makes it such a pleasure to wear and also is a fantastic conversation starter. So now let's dive a bit deeper into your strap options and my experience with both, which I wore for about 3 or 4 days each, starting with the metal bracelet. The butterfly clasp is very secure, and I can tell you that it did not accidentally unbuckle on me at any point. Now, I will say though that the point that connects here, this little section just here, is a little bit rattly, okay? I don't know if you can hear that. Let's bring the mic down to show you. Okay, now that was not just the ball moving around, that was in fact this little piece here. Now that is because that over the few days that I wore this metal clasp, it did actually become a little bit loose, which is a little bit disappointing, but it has got a bit of give there. Now I'm not willing to rule out the fact that it was not my fault, because as I installed this, I could have easily bent it. It is quite a small and fragile piece. However, there's also a chance that just the general wear and tear has caused this to become loose. So for that reason, my recommendation of strap choice would actually be the silicone straps, which we'll take a better look at now. Now, as I touched on earlier, the silicone straps are supremely comfortable, okay? Now, I will say that they do have these little recessed areas, and as you can see, they do actually pick up dirt and grime quite easily. Now, obviously, I did wear this to my beach volleyball game, and afterwards I found that lots of grains of sand got stuck in here. Now, that might not be a problem for most of you, but as you can see, there is quite a bit of grime as well, which applied on both straps. I also really appreciate that these straps have the quick release spring bars, which makes installation a breeze, which we will be doing now, as these are indeed my strap of choice given their flexibility and comfort. What a beauty. For those of you who fancy something a bit classier, there is also leather straps available, though obviously I've not had a chance to test those. But I do reckon, given I've measured this as 20mm, you could quite easily put on a 20mm NATO strap if you fancied as well. Now, another really cool thing about the E30 is how relatively affordable it is compared to competing brands. I was advised of one brand called the Eon, which makes a model called the Bradley, which according to their website sell for a whopping $350. So the E30 is really quite an affordable option. And thankfully, EUTOUR was able to partner with me for this video to bring you even further discounts on the E30. So if you'd like to get your hands on this amazing watch, you can pick one up at genie.us/EUTOUR, which will be linked in the description below, and make sure you use the code GOAT15 to save 15% off. And this will be active for the next 1 month since I post this video. EUTOUR has also generously offered to knock off a further 15%, bringing the total discount up to 30% for members of the Goat Crew channel membership. So if you've ever considered becoming a member, now is a great time because the cost would be offset by your purchase of this watch. It's a great way to support the channel as well. If you're interested, click the join button below and you'll see the code in my community tab, which I've posted along with this video. This code is also posted on my Patreon if you're a member there. But remember, this will only be active for 30 days, so if you are interested, make sure you get in time. Now let's get into the cons. These are the things that I either didn't like or think would make good improvements to the EUTOUR E30. The biggest issue which kept coming up for me, and I saw it in a lot of comments, is that the hour hand and minute hand are quite unintuitive and not what you would expect. That is to say, the hour hand is actually the outer ball bearing here, and the minute hand is the one in the middle. It takes quite a lot of getting used to looking down at your wrist, and you have to sort of process that, hang on, that's the hour hand and that's the minute hand. If we take a look at my Casio Pope watch for reference, which we've done a separate review for here, you'll note that obviously the hour hand is the shorter one and the minute hand is the longer one. It's the format that everyone is familiar with. So I would have really liked to have seen that be reflected with the EUTOUR E030. So the question is, why has it been implemented in this way? I did read somewhere online, the explanation was that the hour hand is the first thing that your eye is drawn to on the outside, and then your eye would move to the inside to read the minutes. But honestly, guys, I don't buy that. It doesn't make sense to me. I did also get a comment on Reddit, which I'd like to explore, which had quite a good theory for why they've done this, but I do have a theory myself as well. So with a traditional analog watch, I want you to picture how many times the hour hand would rotate each day. It would do 1, 2 12-hour rotations, correct? But the minute hand, however, would have to do 24 full rotations for each hour of the day. So if we go back to the EUTOUR, you can see why that may be an advantage. With the hours only having to rotate twice a day, the outer ball bearing, you can see that the greater distance it must travel here would be less overall, whereas the inner ball bearings for the minutes would have to cover less distance as it rotates more frequently. So my theory is that this was deliberate in order to save battery power, but let me know what you think below. The second theory, which I received as a comment on my Reddit post, and I'll leave up for you here if you'd like a deeper read. Basically what he's saying is that there would be a bunch of re-engineering and redesigning that would need to be done in order to get the hour and minute hands to behave as expected, and there would be a bunch of mechanical challenges in doing so, so it probably wouldn't be cost effective. So that was really only my one big issue with this watch. You know, it does take a little bit of extra processing from your brain to work out the time, but as I said, it is something you would get used to if you wear this watch quite frequently. Other than that, my only issues were relatively minor, such as just a general lack of features, which, you know, because I'm a mainly digital watch wearer, when I do wear an analog, I do miss features such as countdown timers, dates, etc. But in fact, one feature I would have loved to have seen added to the EUTOUR E030 is having the bezel rotatable like it were a dive watch. I do have my Casio Duro here, which we've done a separate review and upgrade for here. But as you can see with this watch, you can twist the bezel. And if I wanted to start a 5-minute timer, I could just kind of line that up just there. So unfortunately, having a fixed bezel means you are not able to do that. And lastly, I did get a few comments from people assuming that this were in fact a braille watch, which would mean it would, you know, something that the blind can use, okay? And I can see why they might think that. You've got these kind of engraved markings and all, but I can tell you guys, I did try reading the time with my eyes closed. My eyes are closed right now. You really can't tell where the ball bearing is. So, you know, and it's not advertised to be a braille watch. Though I have heard from EUTOUR that they are actually working on some braille watches, so stay tuned for that. Do make sure that you are a subscriber so that you don't miss our next Watch of the Week episode. And while you're down there, guys, do let me know, what do you think about the inverted minute and hour hands, and which of the theories do you think is most likely? I'd love to hear your thoughts. A massive thank you to our Goat Crew channel members for supporting the channel, and also to EUTOUR for sponsoring this video. You absolute legends. And remember, you guys now have access to the special 30% off discount code for this watch. Here's a link if you'd like to join us and access this code. Here's another great video for you to watch next, and also our watches playlist, which you should definitely check out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next review. Good girl.